SCARM elevations, the basics. We're going to start with a known track section at 0, 0, 0. We're going to place it using the spacebar repeat. And there's our section. We're going to select it with the right mouse button menu. Select track. We're going to use the elevation boxes, track heights, and numeric height input. Now we can lock this in two different ways. We're going to adjust these four sections to a 2.5%. So we're using the green oval that SCARM provides calculations on. You can see it turned yellow, and we're on the fringe of 2.5%. So we'll bring it back into green, and that actual elevation increase on the end of that track was 2.44 inches. We're in empirical units. And there's our look at it. Now we're going to lock it into place two different ways, and you have to decide what you want to do with that track section. Do I want it all set at the 2.44 inches, or do I want it sloped? Well, we want this one sloped, so I'm going outside of the box, and I'm going to click on the SCARM workspace. Now it is locked in. You can see here, we have it. Had I wanted to make it that across the board, I would have done it differently. So we'll increase it with the mouse wheel, bring it up to that 2.5. There it is. Now I want it across the board. This time I'm going to use the keyboard, and I'm going to enter it. You can see across the board 2.44. There we have, if I can get this perspective looking right, there we have it. If I want to bring it back to a slope, I can bring that down to 0. And now I have my slope. That's pretty much it. That's the basics of just using a track section. You can also use a feature in SCARM in the track selection by changing the color of the track. So here, we're going to use track selection. Now it's just highlighting 3 of the 4 sections. It's not picking up on the first one here that we've changed the color on. So that's a way to control the track that you want to adjust elevation on. And for this, let's say we'll zero it out there. You can see the slope on the track now has changed because it's shorter. We're going to lock that in. Going to take a look at it. There it is, flat section and a slope. And that is it for the basics. Now we want to stack this slope section, and we're going to use a copy paste. We're also going to take a look at the layering to see how this works here. The active layer is layer 0. We're going to change it to 1 here. Now you see that little dot there? That means there's objects on that layer. The rest of these layers have no objects on them. But when we copy and paste it, you'll see layer 1 now has objects on it. So what that has done is to stack the objects that are actually overlapping each other, but we do have our section highlighted, So we can adjust that with a height shift of 6. We'll increase. And there we have it. Now we're using solid arches in the track support. We're going to want to change that as long as we've got it highlighted. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll change that to arcs. And there's our arcs, and that's a pretty good look, actually. So that is using the shift. Another feature of the height shift is you can zero out the selection set, and maybe you have scads of track with elevation, you just want to reset it, you want to start over. So set your shift value higher than the highest elevation. So we've got a 2.44 here. I'm going to drop everything down 6 inches. SCARM is going to warn you that, hey, you're zeroing out this selection set. And that's what you want to do. And you can go ahead and do it and start over. All right, now we're going to connect the divergent ends of 2 turnouts with flex track and change elevations. We're going to see a little bit of different operation in the way SCARM objects react to elevation changes. So let's get started with just an eyeball of the starting point. We don't really care for this example. And we've got these two, and they're angled incorrectly, but I'm going to take care of that later. And since I'm just guessing here, I'll want to line these up, move it in place. Now that's pretty close. And actually, that's probably not going to get any better. Oh, it did. So one thing about lining it up, sometimes you will find that you just can't get it to line up. And that probably has to do with this setting right here, the precision tolerance, distance. We are working in empirical units here. I think you could be more precise if you're going metric. But SCARM has to figure out where exactly to place your objects, and it's probably got a calculation to get it close to a snap point, and you're not going to land it on every snap point. I don't know of a setting in SCARM to get you to snap to a node or even down to a pixel. I don't know. So it gets it close, and so when you get things not quite lining up, no matter how you move it, it's probably due to the precision. And the 0.079 is a SCARM default. So we're going to line these guys up, and we've done that. So we're going to connect with the flex. And here's what we want. We want that green arrow with the black dot in it. That's in spec right there. And we're going to go with it. Another thing about the flex track, if it has to bend a little bit, it'll give you an icon where it's doing the bend. So you can see this is pretty straight. Now we're going to change elevation here, and we're going to bring it to 0.3. Right off the bat, the first thing that happened is this broke. It's not connected. It's flat. This is up at 0.3. So let's bring it into, and let's get the slope going on here. And you can see we're not quite going to get that. 3.1. and I'm going to lock it in place, and now we have it connected. We've got our slope there, and you can see it right there ever so much to see exactly what that slope is on your pieces. In setting, label, slope, 1.2%. So on that, everything, that's exactly how I want it, but there's one thing I'm aware of, is that I have a 1 degree here. I don't want that at 1, I want it at 0. So I'm going to get back in to the starting point here and get a known 0. There it is. And I'm going to move this collection of track, plug it in right there. Now it takes on the host value, and we are at 0. So it corrected that whole section, and that's another way to bring your track into conformity to your specifications. Always remember to take a look at the angle down here as you're moving along, especially using the flex track. And you want to avoid using the flex track as the host object for that very reason. You don't really know until you check it what angle it's at. It might look like it's at a 180 or 270 or 0, but it might be off just a tad. That's it.